You've probably done this before. You grind something over your food, and instantly your nose reacts, your eyes water, the back of your throat tightens. Not after you eat it, before you even take a bite. But here's what most people never ask. Why does your body respond to this before you've even tasted it? Something in this plant is reaching your body before it enters your body. And that is not an accident. There is something sitting in almost every kitchen in the world right now. It is so ordinary that most people stop noticing it. It sits next to the salt. It gets twisted over food without thought. It is one of the first things placed on a restaurant table. But here is what is strange. This same thing, this exact plant, was once treated like gold, not like a spice, like currency. Ancient warriors demanded it as payment. Merchants died trying to protect it. Kings were buried with it. And the question that nobody really answers is simple. Why? Why did civilizations that traded in silk, ivory, and precious metals decide that this small dark thing was worth the same as all of it? They were not wrong about much else. They noticed patterns in the body that took modern science centuries to confirm. So what were they noticing here? The plant we are talking about has been in your home your entire life. You have probably used it this week. It is small, it is dark, it smells sharp and earthy when freshly ground. It is black pepper. And what most people do not realize, what most people have never been told, is that this is one of the most studied natural compounds on Earth. Not a new discovery, not a trend, not something someone found in a rainforest last year. Something people have been using consistently across almost every civilization on Earth for over 4,000 years. And your body reacts to it immediately because there is a reason it should. If this is already starting to change how you see something that has been in your kitchen your whole life, subscribe. Because what comes next goes deeper than most people realize. Here is something that changes how you see this spice. Black pepper does not come from a root. It does not come from a seed pod or a flower bulb. It comes from a vine, a climbing tropical vine, growing in the heat and humidity of places like India, Vietnam, and Indonesia, that produces small berries. They grow in long clusters, almost like tiny grapes hanging from a string. Those berries are picked before they are fully ripe, still green, still firm. And then they are spread out in the sun and left to dry. That is when something happens. The outer skin shrinks, the color deepens, the berry becomes hard and dark and small. And what you are left with, what gets ground over food every day in kitchens all over the world, is a dried berry from a tropical vine that has been grown and harvested the same way for over 4,000 years. In 1213 BC, when the Egyptian Pharaoh Ramesses II was prepared for the afterlife, his body was carefully wrapped and his tomb was filled with objects meant to carry him forward. Among them, black pepper, placed inside his nostrils as part of the embalming ritual. Not decoration, part of the preparation. When a civilization decides that a plant belongs in a royal burial, they have been watching it work for a very long time. In ancient India, black pepper was recorded in Ayurvedic texts written more than 4,000 years ago. It was not listed as a flavoring. It was listed as one of 3 sacred heating agents, part of a formula called trikatu, meaning 3 pungents, used for purification, for clearing the body's pathways, for what they described as rekindling the fire inside. Hippocrates, the man credited with founding modern medicine, prescribed black pepper mixed with honey and vinegar. He did not write about it as food. He wrote about it as treatment, and he was not the only one noticing this. But here is the pattern that matters most. It was not one culture. It was not one region. It was not one era. It was Egypt, India, Greece, Rome, Arabia, China, medieval Europe. Every major civilization on every major trade route, using the same small dark grain and treating it as something the body needed. That pattern is not random. Civilizations that paid attention to the body, that watched what repeated across generations, Do not repeat a mistake for 4,000 years. They were noticing something real. What were they actually paying attention to? In Ayurveda, black pepper was used specifically for what practitioners called Agni. The word translates roughly as digestive fire, but it meant more than digestion. It described the body's ability to break things down, to process, to clear. When Agni was strong, the body moved well. When it weakened, things stagnated. Black pepper was used to reawaken it. You may have experienced this without realizing. Think about a meal where you added significant freshly ground pepper. There is often a warmth that spreads, not just in the mouth, but down into the chest and stomach. Something activates. Digestion shifts. It does not feel passive. That is what they were noticing. In traditional Chinese medicine, black pepper was classified as a warming herb for the stomach and lungs. Cold, in that system, means sluggish, stagnant, moving slower than it should. And the prescription was clear: a small amount of this plant regularly to restore warmth and movement. Medieval European monks, the keepers of medical knowledge in the West for centuries, kept black pepper in their apothecaries alongside herbs and roots. They used it for sluggish digestion, for chest complaints, for preserving food through winter. Before refrigeration, this plant did not just help people feel better, it helped them eat safely. And here is something most people do not know. The Roman soldiers, the most organized military force of the ancient world, were sometimes paid in black pepper, not just issued it, paid with it. And Attila the Hun, when his armies surrounded Rome in 408 AD, issued a list of demands. He could have asked for gold, for land, for weapons. He asked for 3,000 pounds of black pepper. A man who had conquered half the known world decided that this plant was worth the same as a ransom for the most powerful city on earth. He was not confused about value. He understood what people paid attention to. Now here is where what they noticed meets something we can actually measure. Modern science came to black pepper from a completely different direction. Researchers were not studying tradition. They were studying chemistry. And what they found confirmed something the ancient world had already noticed. The active compound in black pepper is called piperine. It is what causes the sharp sensation in your nose, the eye-watering, the immediate throat reaction. Piperine is biologically active, meaning your body is responding to it immediately because it is designed to. Here is the discovery that changed how researchers understand nutrition. Piperine dramatically increases the bioavailability of other compounds consumed alongside it. The most studied example is curcumin, the active compound in turmeric. On its own, curcumin is extremely difficult for the body to absorb. Most of it passes through without being used at all. In one well-known study, piperine increased curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. 2,000? That is not a small adjustment. That is a fundamental change in what your body can actually access from what you eat. The ancient practice of combining specific spices together, something every traditional medicine system did, was not random. Without laboratory tools, they were discovering that certain combinations unlocked something the individual plants could not do alone. Modern research has also confirmed what Ayurvedic practitioners described as awakening digestive fire. Studies show that piperine stimulates the production of digestive enzymes in the pancreas, meaning it can measurably change how efficiently the body breaks down food. There is also early research into piperine's interaction with serotonin and dopamine receptor activity in the brain. Nothing fully concluded. But interesting, given that black pepper has been used in energy, mood, and mental clarity preparations for thousands of years. And then there is this. Some researchers have found evidence that piperine may have thermogenic properties, meaning it slightly raises core body temperature, which would explain the warmth that spreads through the chest and stomach, which would explain why traditional systems called it a heating agent. Your body reacts instantly because it is receiving something that immediately begins to work. This is not a dramatic experiment. It is a quiet one. The shifts that happen are not always obvious, but they are real, and they tend to follow a pattern. So we decided to pay attention the way the ancient world paid attention. Not with a laboratory, not with measurements, just with the body. 7 days. The same simple ingredient. Used the way it has always been used, freshly ground intentionally every day. And what followed was not dramatic, but it was real. Here is what we noticed. Day 1. The first thing most people notice is not a benefit, it is attention. You start paying attention to something you have always done automatically. You notice the warmth when you grind it fresh. You notice the way your nose responds before the food reaches your mouth. You realize you have been reaching for this every day without ever actually feeling it. Day 2. Some people notice that digestion after meals feels slightly different. Not dramatic, bro, but more settled. Meals seem to resolve more cleanly. Less of that heavy, slow feeling that can linger for an hour after eating. Day 3. This is where something starts to shift more clearly. The body begins to adjust. If you are also using turmeric, even occasionally, you may start noticing effects from that combination that were not there before, not because the turmeric changed, because your body is now absorbing more of it. Day 4. Stabilization. The warmth is still there, but it feels more familiar now. Some people report that their relationship to food during this day feels slightly different. They are tasting more carefully, noticing textures and temperatures they usually move past. But the most interesting shift usually isn't the warmth anymore. It's what happens after eating. Day 5. Some people notice something unexpected here. Energy in the mid-afternoon feels slightly more stable. There is no crash to the same degree. This is consistent with early research on Piperine's interaction with metabolic pathways, but for most people, it just feels like a quieter afternoon. Day 6. The changes are subtler now. This is often the day where people realize they have been adding more pepper without thinking about it, that your body has been asking for it, before your mind even notices. Day 7. Reflection. By this point, most people report something simple. Awareness. They have started tasting what they eat differently. They notice the difference between freshly ground pepper and the pre-ground version that has been sitting in a jar. They understand for the first time why the grinder exists. The 7 days do not transform you. They teach you to pay attention to something that has been asking for attention your whole life. The single most important thing is freshness. Pre-ground black pepper, the kind sitting in a shaker jar, has usually lost most of its piperine. The volatile compounds in black pepper begin to degrade the moment the grain is cracked open. Within a few days, much of what makes it active is already gone. A whole peppercorn grinder, used at the moment of eating, is a completely different substance. The nose knows this immediately. The reaction is stronger. The warmth is more distinct. For general use, a few twists of a peppercorn grinder directly over food at the table just before eating. For deliberate use, a small pinch of freshly cracked black pepper added to warm water in the morning, a practice found in Ayurvedic morning routines going back thousands of years. Some people add a small amount of raw honey to this. Some add a pinch of turmeric. The combination is ancient. The reasoning is now supported by research. For combination use, anytime you use turmeric, in food, in a drink, in any preparation, add black pepper. The ratio does not need to be large. A small pinch per teaspoon of turmeric is enough to dramatically change what your body can absorb. The two were traditionally combined in this way in both Indian and Middle Eastern cooking, not for flavor alone. For cooking, add black pepper at the end of cooking, not the beginning. High heat over long periods degrades piperine. Add it late, and you preserve more of what makes it active. One additional note. Freshly cracked whole peppercorns and powdered pre-ground pepper are not the same thing. If you have only ever used the shaker jar, grinding your own for 7 days will feel different from the first moment. Black pepper in normal food amounts is safe for nearly everyone. In very large amounts, it can irritate the stomach lining. This is why every traditional system recommended small, consistent use, not large doses, a pinch regularly over time, not a tablespoon at once. People with active gastrointestinal conditions, stomach ulcers, acid reflux, inflammatory bowel disease, may find that even normal amounts are irritating. Pay attention to how your body responds, especially in the first few days. Black pepper can affect the way certain medications are absorbed in the body. The same mechanism that increases curcumin absorption can also change the metabolism of some pharmaceutical drugs. If you are on regular medication, it is worth checking with your doctor about this before making black pepper a deliberate daily practice. Pregnant women have historically consumed black pepper in food amounts without concern. Large supplemental amounts are not recommended during pregnancy. The principle is the same one ancient traditions taught. Start small, pay attention to what your body tells you, and treat this as a food with power, not something to force. There is something worth sitting with when you think about black pepper. It is not rare, it is not expensive, it is not hidden. It has been on your table your entire life. And yet, it was treated by some of the most sophisticated healing traditions in human history as something worth studying, protecting, and preserving. Soldiers were paid with it. Kings were buried with it. Healers listed it as medicine. They were not doing this by accident. They were doing it because they were paying attention to what the body responded to, and they did not dismiss what they noticed. Maybe the question is not what black pepper can do. Maybe the question is whether we stopped paying attention to the things that were always in front of us. Your body still responds to this. It does it without being asked. We're paying attention to things people stop noticing, and that is exactly what this channel is here to explore. Even in ancient traditions, these kinds of plants were never treated as ordinary. Try this for the next few days, the way you've seen here, and then come back and tell me what you noticed. Was the reaction the same? Or did your body show you something different, something we didn't even mention? Because that's the part that matters most. Not just what's been said, but what your body actually responds to.